Now, 2.5 years ago, Colonel Gaddafi was ousted. Today, the battle for his legacy is continuing, and post-Gaddafi Libya is struggling to hold itself together. At the heart of the instability are a series of militia groups, the same militia groups, in fact, which were formed to get the former dictator out of power in the first place. In Misrata, the militias have been ordered out of the city, and in Tripoli, a 3-day strike is underway in protest at their violent behaviour. All of this follows the kidnap of the government's deputy intelligence chief on Sunday. So who are these militias and why can't the Libyan government control them? Well, journalist and broadcaster Nabila Ramdani joins us now. Nabila, thanks very much for coming on the programme as ever. So who are they? Who are these militia groups?
Well, as you said in your introduction, you clearly said that, these are the very militias who fought during the revolution to overthrow Colonel Gaddafi. And they had a common goal then, which was the removal of Colonel Gaddafi. But beyond that, and indeed throughout the revolution, even then their differences showed and were expressed through clashes between rival factions. And of course, now that the strong man Gaddafi has been removed, the differences are coming to the fore even more forcefully, and that's why you have on a continual basis, incidents of rival militias clashing and leading to the worst type of violence expressed through people being killed or indeed kidnapped, and that is on a routine basis.
What's surprising, I think, about the militias, for those unfamiliar with it, is that they're not necessarily totally at arm's length from the government. There are elements that are connected to various different departments. Is that right?
Well, absolutely. And for example, the Misrata Brigade is nominally attached to the Ministry of Defense, like other militias, but it's viewed by people as having a semi-official status, but they can also operate independently on occasions and when they choose to. What is particularly disturbing is that some of the brigades affiliated with the government also have links with Al-Qaeda, and it comprises Al-Qaeda elements which are behind the worst type of violence happening in the country at the moment. And I think the very fact that, over the past few days alone, dozens of ordinary and indeed unarmed civilians protesting against militia rule have been killed, and that the man who is responsible for security, Mustafa Noor, has been kidnapped in Tripoli, recently. This all sums up the situation, really, and how dire and unstable and volatile the situation is in Tripoli, in the country, in Libya at the moment.
Nabila, briefly, if it's possible to answer this briefly, I guess, can the Libyan government move forward without the militias altogether? Can it bypass them, or does Libya's future need to involve discussion?
Well, I think what it needs to do first and foremost is to disarm those militias, and the Prime Minister himself had a few weeks ago appealed to the Western countries who have been involved in the conflict, like Britain and indeed France, to seek the help to disarm militias, powerful militias that cannot be controlled by the government at the moment, a central government which is indeed very weak and has no strong institutions like a proper police force or indeed an army as such. And in order for the country to move towards, democracy, then it needs to disarm, as a matter of urgency, those all-powerful militias.
Nabila Ramdani, Monocle regular journalist and broadcaster specialising in exactly this region. Thanks very much for joining us as ever. You're listening.